Number 6. What I forgot to say, because I didn't realise it at the time, was this axle in this 110 is for VIN numbers up to KA. After LA they changed over, the 300 TDIs changed over, and instead of putting this Railco bush and pin, they actually put a pin with the top and bottom bearing in, so that fits into there. So it's taper roller bearings top and bottom, and you can see the housings are different. I forgot to mention the housing here is all round, and this one's got a chunk missing out of it. And notice too that the bolt holes there on that one, and the bolt holes there on that one. That's confusing. It's not a big deal. I'll just swap the swivels over. They're almost identical. You just have to do it. But I would like to do the other side the same at some time, just to match them up. Yeah, it is a common problem. But like I say, if it was a 300 TDI, you wouldn't have to worry about this. Or a TD5, you just swap it over. But in this instance, it is a little bit of a problem. So I've got the parts, and I wanted to say too about the swivels. On the early ones, they were chrome. On the later ones, they were Teflon. They're actually a lot better. They don't rust at all for some strange reason. But anyway, that's just a little notice, just to say, look, you've forgotten that they're different. They will fit together. We'll make them fit, but you've got to keep your eye up, otherwise they won't fit at all. And also another thing is, which I knocked the pin out of here thinking, just to show you that, alright, why don't you just put a bearing in, because the bearing's almost the right size. You could just tap that in, I suppose, or with a bit of machining. But there's no shoulder for the bearing to fit on, so when you put the preload on with the shims, it will just drop through. Actually, this method is a lot easier because there's 2 tapered bearings and you can adjust it. A lot of people with these older trucks, with this old-fashioned Railco, what they call the Railco bearing, has a little washer in the bottom for the thrust at the bottom, and all it relied on was grease to get through there, or oil to get through that bottom hole. Can you see? So they used to dry up, and this outer bushing used to wear. So people used to take shims out, and it used to put thrust onto here, this bottom of the pin, and here, thus temporarily making it tight again, but it would never last because the bush was loose. Whereas this one here, you can just take it out and it's good. And all the weight of the vehicle's on this bottom bearing, and it only turns like 1/4 of a turn. The top bearing's just there for show, I think. Well, no, not really, but it just keeps it in place. There's no weight on the top bearing. But with this spinning around, with the shaft of the CV spinning around, everything gets nicely greased and oiled. So that's pretty good, and that's why I like them. So I'll probably change this side later when I get hold of another axle. It would have been easier just to swap a Disco 1 axle straight in, but I haven't got one. The axle that these parts came off was bent. And how you find out if an axle's bent? Well, these flanges here have to be parallel. Same both sides, they have to be parallel. The easiest way to test that is make a spacer to come out here that's parallel. You can use wood if you can get it all nice and square. And bring it out to about here and here. Bolt it on and measure, do it both sides and measure top and bottom to see if they're parallel. If they're not parallel, if they're twisted, either vertical or horizontal, the axle's junk. There's not much you can do with it. Usually they bend on this bit. I have in the past straightened them out by heating and quenching them and messing about and trying to get them straight. It's not worth it. There's so many Disco 1s kicking about that you can pick up the parts pretty easy. But there's a thing to watch. If it's a up to KA Land Rover, it's going to have the Railco bushes in. And I should have known, I should have pointed it out, but this morning I was a bit tired. I just got up, so I wanted to get this out straight away. So anyway, there you go. That's a little note about swivels. Oops.